Hey there, you beautiful souls. Welcome to the Authentic You podcast, where we dive deep into the power of authenticity and the journey to rediscovering your true self. I'm your host, Kristina Holle, and I'm beyond excited to embark on this transformative journey with you. Ever wonder how authenticity impacts relationship, career choices, and overall well-being? Well, wonder no more, because the Authentic You is your compass on this incredible adventure. So what can you expect from our show? Well, picture this: heart-to-heart conversation, inspiring stories, expert insights on the importance of authenticity. We're going to tackle the masks we wear, the societal expectations we navigate, and guide you back to the essence of who you truly are. The Authentic You podcast, where real stories meet real talk. Get ready to shine your light and live authentically. So today we are going to talk about imposter syndrome. And like I said, this topic actually came from the audience, and I'm very open. I can talk about many things, but if you ever have a question or something that you want to learn a little bit more about, please feel free to chat with me behind the scenes, and I can very much put it as a part of the agenda that we can have a conversation about it. And you may have things where you don't quite feel as though you're good enough, or that certain things aren't really meant for you. But we're going to talk about that today. I think we're going to debunk some of that stuff for you. Have you ever felt as though in your life you didn't really deserve things that are presented in front of you? Have you feared that one day people are going to actually discover who you are, that maybe you're not as capable as they think you are? Well, let me introduce you to what imposter syndrome is. That is exactly it. It's these narratives that you believe that you are not good enough. That little voice that goes inside of your head and it says, oh, if they find out, they're going to laugh me out of the building. Or I don't really belong here, but I'm just nodding and I'm smiling right now because I just don't want to mess this up. Or maybe another would be, I just got lucky. I'm lucky I'm here. The voice is a liar. The voice is telling you lies right now. So wherever you end up, and if you're sitting in certain situations, honor that for the greatness of what that is. When you start telling yourself that little story that you don't deserve to be there, automatically, do you think you're showing up as a power play, or are you going to hide behind this image? And one really breeds fear, right? If we feel as though that we're not deserving or that we may get caught out, then we could be putting ourselves in a situation that is not going to allow us to win. So we see this a lot in business, and I hate to say it, with females. A lot of females, sometimes they will speak to me and they feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it all. I don't know if they really find out that I don't know what I'm doing, they're going to just set me free. And the reality is, everybody has had these feelings. It does not discriminate. This little voice only takes power when we allow it to take form. And it actually affects high achievers, entrepreneurs, and creatives, and even those in professional roles. They're the people that want to be at the top of their game. And when they feel as though they finally achieve something, instead of honoring it and really appreciating it, they start to downplay. I know when I shifted from being a corporate person, shifted into being an entrepreneur, that is a part of the transition. That the little voice like, hey, do you really think you can do this? Do you really think this is for you? They're going to know that you don't know what you're doing. Well, and the fact is, I totally know what I'm doing. But that voice that we all get, we got to just tell it to silence. Say thank you, but no thank you. When that voice comes up, no thank you. When it says, well, you're not good enough, I want you to start to reframe it in a way that you're like, no, I got this. I worked hard to be here. It's very different language. If you start shifting the narrative around oh, I don't belong here. And you start saying, well, no, I'm exactly where I need to be. So here's a little trick for you from what I've seen throughout my 25 years in business. And I even say it to my kids. So if this is something that resonates with one of you, I think it's great. I would always promote to be a small fish in the big pond rather than be the big fish in a small pond. And the reason why I say this is that you always want to be in a position where you're still capable of growing. If you're top dog and you've landed at the very best possible place, how are you learning? Your capability can start to diminish. So you may want to think about, hey, maybe I got to get into a different pond, or maybe I got to get into the ocean, or I got to shift in some way or form. I think it's really important to understand that we are here to learn. Instead of feeling insecure about not knowing all the answers or that you might not think you're good enough to be in that spot, perhaps we need to reframe the narrative and say, oh my gosh, I'm here. What can I learn? I know how to do these things. How can I build off of that? And when we do that, it is extremely powerful. It changes the dynamics completely. And the reason why I use that analogy with the fish in a pond, it doesn't matter if it is for hockey or if it's for business or for anything, right? Any situation. Once you get to that point where you've capped out and you haven't moved out of that space for a long period of time, you might start going the other direction. You might be shifting into, hey, I'm going to start living small because it's safe. I am the top dog here. I don't want to give that up. But what happens is that that's not good either. And then the little fish, and I'm using these analogies because I find that they really make sense. The little fish, instead of feeling like, oh, I don't belong here with all these people that are so experienced, it's about reframing, right? Starts to look at it like, what can I learn? And I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn from all these people around me instead of talking yourself down, not honoring the celebration of what is happening. Did you work really hard to get there? Why aren't we honoring that? And the way that we can do that, this is a little trick. So these are some tips to get over imposter syndrome if it's speaking to you. Is the way we can do that is that to celebrate your wins, your little wins, write down everything. I want you to feel as though you're very accomplished in what you do because you are. And when we have a tendency, I think we've been conditioned a certain way that we can have all this good and then one person says something that doesn't make us feel good. And then we seem to focus in on that instead of focusing in on all the positive stuff. So I want you to reframe that. I want you to start really thinking about all the compliments you got. What have they said to you? Why are you there? And I'll tell you, there's always going to be people, and I'm going to go back to maybe it's one of those really big fish that they've been there too long and they may want to diminish you in that particular time instead of pumping you up. But that's about them. That's not about you. That's about them because they've been in the role for how long doing the job. It's really easy to be a pro when you've been in the role for 10 years. And then you have new people coming into a role and maybe they're a year in and they're still learning. A lot of my clients, they may be professionals and sometimes they're just getting leadership roles. Think about when you try anything new, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. It's almost getting the new shoes, right? That they're a little bit, you got to get used to them in order to fit. So I think I want you to keep, I don't know who needs to hear this today, but I want you to keep this in mind. Be kind to yourself. You're learning. Your approach and how you address that is going to make a big difference. If you beat yourself up because you're not learning fast enough, because it's not clicking yet, or that you're scared that you're going to get judged, then you're really doing yourself a disservice. And I want you to think about whether or not you're doing that. I have seen so many people do this. And I've been fortunate enough where I can jump in and I can get them to pause and stop and ask yourself, is this serving me well? Is it serving me well to get frustrated that I am not where the senior person is and I just started my role in that, whatever capacity? It could be you got promoted, you could have moved to a new department, you could be doing something new. And like I said, you could even use this for sports, you could use this for anything. This is the imposter syndrome stuff really starts to kick in when you are pushing your comfort zone. And I want you to push your comfort zone, because when we push our comfort zone, that's how we grow. And if we don't push our comfort zone, then we start to diminish. We go the other way. That's why I was talking about the big fish. I'm like, oh, wow, you're the big fish, but you've been there 10 years. What are you doing now? What's the next step? What are you doing? And I don't know. I've seen it throughout my career and with people that sometimes people get very comfortable in their skin when they're like the big fish, let's say. And they like to put people in their place. They like to knock people down and may not be promoting growth the way that you would like to see it. And if that happens, it is one of those things where if we're not feeling solid, we could actually listen to what that person has to say and then start questioning ourselves and putting ourselves in a mindset that is not serving us, where we're punishing ourselves. I want us to move away, and anyone who's ever heard any of my shows, we're moving away from punishing, fear, limitation, and we're moving into love, compassion, care, and kindness. And the truth is, we have not in our society given enough attention to love, care, and compassion and empathy. Now we're starting to do this. This is why these conversations are so important. When we start to shift, you get results. You actually get better results for yourself when you allow yourself to flourish rather than to punish. So we've talked about this before, where you can have a plant. And there's studies that show you talk to a plant. My grandmother used to always she's like, you have to talk to the roses. When you talk to the roses, they love you and they grow and they blossom. And I would be like, loved it. So we would talk positive words. And these roses were the most beautiful roses out there. And then there's studies, if you speak poorly to plants, they wither and they die. They do not grow the same way. Humans are exactly the same way. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that how are you speaking to yourself? So imposter syndrome, to me, the flag to imposter syndrome is when I start hearing certain things. Let's see, I'm a fraud and it's only a matter of time until they find me out. It's so pervasive of fear, right? You're just waiting for the second shoe to drop. Do you think that's healthy for yourself? Is it fair and loving? Is it the way you would speak to other people? But yet we do it for ourselves. We don't allow ourselves grace to be in the space that we need to be in. And I think that that makes a big difference. I have Anitra coming up. Let's see what she has to say. Hi.
Can you hear me?
How's it going? Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm really appreciating your topic that you have about imposter syndrome.
Oh,
Very interesting.
very good. And what's speaking to you, my dear?
Well, again, that self-talk, the positive self-talk versus the negative self-talk. One of the things, I actually had this conversation today. One of the things that we can quickly recognize is when others are disrespectful to us or they say something that's hurtful, and how they used to say that words didn't hurt, but we know now how powerful words can be, and they're very hurtful. And so with that being said, just piggybacking off of what you said about the kind and compassion words to yourself and speech to yourself, sometimes people don't realize how abusive their self-talk can be. It's abusive. And so when you put it into that term, I've noticed that when I talk to people about these things and I use the word abuse, it's a light bulb goes off for them that they don't think about it that way, but it is actually, they would not take that from someone else. They would say it's abuse from someone else. But again, a lot of these negative things that we have to say about ourselves, a lot of times they were planted. And we're providing the fertilizer and the water and whatever else it takes to grow. And we don't know that. And so that really hit home when you said that about the negative self-talk. And also about the a lot of times I see too, people will put on a humor mask.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they get tired of that. With the imposter syndrome, you were saying about waiting on the next shoe to drop. Somebody today was just telling me how one of the worst things that they do is sabotage. They are not comfortable when things are going well. And so if things are going well, they start looking for things to go wrong because they're not comfortable with peace and serenity and happiness and joy, because it goes back to what you just said about not really feeling like you're worthy of having some peace or having joy. And so they start self-sabotaging and they want to stop doing that. But you have to recognize that you're doing that before you can stop it.
So powerful. I totally agree. And sometimes we don't even realize that we've picked up these things that we do to cope. I love what you said about the abuse, because when we say the word abuse, right, words have power. All of a sudden, it's like a wake up. It's like someone shaking you and going, would you put up with emotional abuse this way? And you're doing it to yourself because you don't think you're worthy. It's powerful stuff. And the other part that it speaks to me because I can relate to it, humor. So humor is good, but when you start to diminish yourself through humor in order to fit in, I'm embarrassed, honestly, if I'm going to speak honestly. I have laughed at things that I didn't think were funny because I wanted to fit in at a particular time. That would never happen now, but that's a part of some of those things, those behaviors, because you didn't feel as though you were worthy to be there. So you had to do things that you might not necessarily agree with.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share about that, because and that old saying, I took a positive psychology seminar last summer, and the professor was saying we no longer want to use the term "fake it till you make it." You want to practice until you make progress. We want to practice to make better. We want to practice to make habits. But even if you feel, like people who struggle with a lot of depression and anxiety, even if you don't feel like smiling that day, don't feel like you have to fake it till you make it. Try to pick and choose when you want to practice trying to smile, not that you're faking it. Because anytime, and this speaks to the imposter syndrome, anytime you try to tell your brain, we're going to fake this, the brain never adopts it as authentic or real. It's going to always be fake to you and superficial, and you want real experiences. So that's what I want to share. Good topic. I love the topic.
Mitra, thank you so much, and feel free to hop back on. Very powerful share. So I appreciate what you shared today. That humor thing for me is one that we all have something, right? And I think about early in my career when I would be laughing at things where I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are idiots. But I didn't say that. I laughed, and I will never do that again, as I was saying before. But I think that that's why these conversations are so powerful. And we learn not to sit there to self-deprecate. When we actually knock ourselves down in order to fit into whatever circle that is. And I love what you said. And this is why it shifts and relates to me about career. There's a whole thing around fake it till you make it. And that has been around. I've been in HR for 25 years, and so many people have not gotten support because of fake it till you make it. So we just put people in positions and we're like, well, figure it out. Don't let them see you sweat. Like, do you see all these sayings? Again, we wonder why we have mental health issues, because we've been teaching people to conceal how they feel. And being the small fish in the pond is actually a beautiful thing. That means that you've set yourself up properly where you're constantly growing. But we have to put ourselves in a position where we are loving ourselves and we're doing it in a very positive way, and that we're not self-sabotaging. And what was said again, I'm going to go back to the word abuse. I really love that you shared that because it is abusive. If I heard even a stranger going, you're not good enough. Why would you even think that you could have that? Oh God, good luck to you. I hope that works out. Can you imagine? I know I would want to stop the person and have a conversation, but we don't do that. That's why this conversation is extremely important. And I think that's why someone asked, hey, Kristina, can you do a talk about this? I'm like, no problem. Another one is saying, and I'm a Canadian, we are totally trained to say, I'm sorry all the time. Sorry, I'm rambling. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Sorry that. When we are doing that, you are minimizing yourself again. It's indicating that you are lacking self-esteem, right? You're apologizing for sharing your thoughts. I've been a very strong female, but now as I have really integrated and understood on a deeper level, I was doing that stuff all the time. But I thought I was being polite, right? I would want to speak, but, oh, sorry, can I say this? Give me a break. Of course you can say that. So I think that that's when we have to stop doing these things that we're self-sabotaging. How about, I'm not really capable as they think I am. So what are you doing in that comment? I'm not as capable as they think I am. Oh my gosh. You are doubting your own ability. Self-doubt, full force. And you're overestimating what other people can do. Everybody has had this feeling. Every single person will feel uncomfortable when you are in a different position. I'm going to say a different pond when we're doing the fish in the ponds. When you shift from one pond to the next pond, it doesn't matter. If you shift from your comfort zone, you will automatically feel uncomfortable. It is natural. So instead of punishing yourself for all of that stuff, then why don't we embrace it and say things like, oh, I'm learning. I'm scared, but it means I'm learning. I don't know yet, but I'm learning. I'll figure that out. Wow, those are empowering statements instead of the punishing piece. And when we understand that, I think that it really starts to come together. Even when we say things like, I think maybe if, right? You're not coming across confident. When you do that, you are like, if I were to use an example, instead of opening a door to a room, it's like you're tiptoeing in when you say things, I think maybe, because you've automatically diminished your thoughts. The qualifiers that you're putting in front make a big difference in how you show up from a confidence perspective. If you say something, I would like to share this idea, very confident, instead of maybe, did you think about this? Right? You can hear it even in my voice right now. There's a difference in how it gets conveyed. If you're saying things like, I just got lucky. I got this job. I just got lucky. What do you think you just did to yourself? These statements automatically diminish everything that you worked hard for. I want you to honor that you've worked hard to shift from one area to the next. It takes guts to move from one area to the next, right? To have the courage to step into this higher way of being. And when we understand that, then we can be like, well, no, it wasn't luck. I actually worked for it. It's not just chance. It didn't just fall into my lap. I had the skills. Maybe your skills aren't fully developed yet, but that's fine. And I will tell you from my HR lens, if you are coachable and you are open and you can learn, the skills will come. Just like I was saying with that fish that has been in the pond, that's been there for 10 years and it is such an ace. They've been there for 10 years. So don't judge yourself against something like that because that does not make any sense. And I would argue from my professional lens, well, what's that fish going to do now? Are you going to either coach and mentor and help people feel great about learning, or is it time for you to move to a different area where you start fresh? Every single person has gone through this cycle. Now, the difference is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to get stuck in it? And you can still grow and learn things. But if you are mean to yourself while you're doing it, I promise you, you are not going to excel the way that we need you to excel. But if you're kind and you're showing up in a way and you know that you're not a fraud, you're actually supposed to be there. That's the exact place you're supposed to be. That's how you grow. It's really funny because there's this whole fear around being exposed. Oh my gosh, what if I don't know? So what do you think a good response is if you don't know? If someone asks you a question and you don't know, you could respond like this. That's a great question. I don't know yet, but I will find out for you. Is that not empowering? Does that not put you in a position of power where you're not feeling less than because you didn't know? Because I know that stuff does not even bother me one bit. And I don't want it to bother you either. If you're holding on to things that you were nervous about responses that you may not have in the moment, and you're scared that you're not going to look a certain way, or you're scared you might feel as though you may look weak or not strong or not confident, not deserving, I'll tell you a little secret. That is not about that particular moment. That is rooted in something that is deeper. It could be a deeper need to be perfect. It could be a deeper need to look like you are strong and smart. And this is where the work that I do is helping you understand, let's not just do superficial fixes. Let's go to the root cause. Where is that coming from? Is it from when you were a little girl or a little boy where you felt as though in order to get love and attention, that came from having a really clean room? That came from not disturbing the peace at home? Believe me, I've done so much work around transformation. And when we really understand, the core issues are never about the particular moment. It's always stuff that you brought this false narrative into the present, and it could even go into the future. And the reason why I say that is that if we're talking about imposter syndrome, if you are coming from a healthy place and you are full, imposter syndrome does not exist. It just doesn't. You show up in a way where you're like, hey, oh, that's a great question. Let me look into that. I'll get back to you by whatever date or whatever. But the point that I'm trying to make is that you're not going to feel as though that you have to hide. You have to prove yourself. You have to laugh at jokes that aren't funny. And I'm a funny girl. I used to laugh a lot, but I got hooked into this, ha ha ha, right? I'm going to laugh in order to not be the next target. This is not healthy. I can recognize that now. But for me, I thought it was very clever. It was how I survived. But honestly, it's not healthy and it should not happen. But I love it. That's why I want to talk about it, because I think that whatever it is, if it's your people pleasing, if it's staying quiet, if it's making sure everything looks perfect, all that stuff, you could be causing yourself your own angst. And we were saying before, fake it till you make it. Let's throw that out the window, because that's not helping. That's actually just adding more of the blocking your emotions and not allowing you to learn or feel supported in certain environments. So let's go back to that fish analogy again. Big fish in a small pond. Wow, they're so great. I would always recommend you should always be the small fish in a big pond. Always be learning, always pushing yourself. But you have to be comfortable with not knowing what those answers may be. You gotta be comfortable in working in fear. You gotta be comfortable in understanding to ask a question is okay. Understanding that you believe in yourself, that you can learn, and that this is a part of the process. It's almost like this is how you break out of it, isn't it? You don't get stuck in There's only one way to be. There isn't. They wouldn't have brought you into that situation. It's not lucky that that unfolded. It's because of all the steps that you did to get to that point. Now, if you're at a different level now, it's, oh my gosh, levels. Let's talk about video games. Once you master a level, you have to get to the next level. And then when you get to the next level, you're a junior again. You don't know, but do you give up or do you keep going? And I think that that's a big part of it too. Do you keep going? Because when we do, that's how we get results. That's how we grow. And that's how we find all these new skills. And I think when we understand that we no longer need to diminish ourselves, we just need to honor, hey, I'm excited to be here. I'm learning. Oh, it's coming together. It's a challenge, but I love a challenge, right? It's about the progress, not perfection. It's about the progress. Progress over perfection all the time. And it's interesting because I have clients and I have friends that for a very long time, they live their life around perfection. And for me, I think it's a waste of time because if you cap out at perfection, you may have automatically limited your growth as to what you could bring to the table. And when we understand that, it's an eye opener. What if you could go past perfection? Because who's defining perfection, by the way? What if you could actually exceed the dynamic of what's being asked of you? So maybe you're going to be bigger than the big fish, and maybe you'll do that in 5 years instead of 10. But the way you show up for yourself is what's going to make a huge difference. If you're heavy on yourself, heavy on your heart, and you're punishing yourself, nothing good's going to come out of it. I guarantee you're probably going to hate your job or hate whatever this new thing is. And anyone who is used to working with me, we're always pushing our comfort zone. We're here on this planet for a reason. We're here to learn. We're here to fall. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. Learn and grow and learn and grow. But that's a part of putting ourselves in healthy, uncomfortable positions. I had a friend that, oh my gosh, my friends make me laugh because they always show up and we end up they're like, I need a Kristina fix. I'm like, let's do it. I have one that actually I have more than one. I always seem to be around when people are going through major transition. And one of them was like, well, I don't know if I want to go back to my job after mat leave. I was like, well, what are you thinking? I don't know. So then we did some work and anyway, she decided to go back to be a midwife. And I'm like, that's perfect. Does it speak to your heart? Are you excited about it? She's like, yeah, I am excited about it. I'm like, well, let's just go for it. So she went, and I remember in the beginning, she's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I've had this multiple times. What did I do? I'm like, keep going. You don't stop. And then eventually, there's almost like a breaking point of what did I do? Oh my gosh, why did I do this? Oh gosh, if they find out, can I go back? No, you can't go back because you made the decision, I'm going to grow. You did not want to be that big fish that's there for 20 years and didn't make the move. So once you make it, and it's funny when she's like, what did I do? And it got better. And then I got different kind of conversations that she was learning and it was exciting and all this. Now she's been a midwife forever. And now she brings life into the world. Think about that job. She brings life into the world. That to me blows my mind. Going from office job to bringing life into the world. But that took her stepping into that comfort zone, out of that comfort zone and being like, oh my gosh. And normally I have it's kind of funny and I actually love it. My whole philosophy is like, I'll give you a push and then I'm going to give you a hug and I'm going to give you a push and a hug and we're going to get you out of that stuckness and push you to the next stage for yourself. And when that happens, it's so beautiful because when people can see that they can do it and they're doing it, now she's a full-on midwife. I have another one who changed a long-term job that she was in forever, and she went and now she's a corporate executive. And I'm like, amazing. It takes courage to say, I'm going to go. I'm going to try this. I'm going to push myself a little bit. And then when we do, and you understand, it's not imposter syndrome. If I'm going to be honest, I can't stand the name imposter syndrome because it gives an excuse for people to feel less than when they're moving from one comfort zone to the next. This is about growth, and it's really about honoring who you are. Like I said, let's get to the root issue. Love yourself so much that you're meant to keep growing. It's the garden with this flower. You're watering it and you're nurturing it and you're putting fertilizer. It's growing. It doesn't cap. Love yourself that much that you keep pouring into yourself and you keep giving yourself opportunities to keep growing, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's a new relationship. Maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's being promoted. Maybe it's speaking up, but it's no longer putting yourself in a position where you are diminishing yourself and putting out that message that you're less than and you're just happy to be there, because that narrative doesn't work. That narrative aligns with imposter syndrome. But you're so much more than that. You're totally awesome in this moment. Just as you are, you're more than enough. Now, if we're starting with I am enough in this moment, you're like, wow, I'm enough. Kristina, I don't have to lose 20 pounds, or I don't have to get the perfect job, and I don't have to be the perfect mom, and I don't have to. No, in this moment, you are enough. You are aligned into when you start to unlock this for yourself and you see how awesome you are, you'll never want to give away your power to fear, self-doubt, judgment. You won't want to do that anymore. You'll come to realize that this doesn't serve me. Even the idea of worry, that emotion of worry does not serve you at all. It's a wasted emotion as far as I'm concerned. So if we're worrying about what people will think, if we're worrying if we're going to be showing up properly, if they'll like me, well, if they don't like you, then they're not your people. That's okay. Let's use the job analogy. If you're in a job and you have someone who is tenured and seasoned and they're not helping you and they're making you feel less, that might not be a great job. That might be something where we need to look at that situation. But the bigger question is, are you doing it to yourself? Is the perspective coming into place where you see that and you're making assumptions about that person, but it's really about you not feeling good enough? But you were good enough to get yourself in that position. And when you're in that position, you have to keep walking forward one step at a time. And the reason why I say this, and it actually kind of excites me to say this, because something ignited you enough to take it. Something sparked you within to say, I'm going to give that a try. And the fact that you did that is significant. So let's not diminish that. We want to build off of momentum, because what that tells me, when we take steps like that, we're actually leading into our own authenticity. We're putting ourselves in positions where we're like, I'm willing to put myself out there. I'm willing to do something that feels more aligned. Let's say it's for money, like a bigger job. But there was something there, right? So let's use the example, money. I got a promotion. I'm getting a better job. I'm going to do this. And then you step into that role and you're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. If they find out, it's going to be a joke, all this stuff. But again, you were sparked enough to do it. You believed enough that you were worth more, right? This higher paying job, that to put yourself out there, or that you wanted to learn. So if that's the case, don't retract. Don't run back. Embrace it and be like, I am learning. This is awesome. I listen to myself. I'm putting myself in uncomfortable positions so I can break free, because I want more in my life. And it's very possible of having that. And I know this because I'm living it right now. I live it every single day. I'm doing heart-led things. I have moments. I think every single person has moments of imposter syndrome. Like Oprah Winfrey probably has moments. Albert Einstein. Think about it. At certain points where they may have felt like they were frauds. You know why? Because they were different from the rest. And instead of feeling less than, that you can't fit the mold or you haven't done it quick enough, maybe you weren't meant to fit that mold. Maybe you're meant to trust yourself and love yourself enough to step forward and do whatever you need to do. And when we think of I call them the greats. When we think of greats in our life, they stand out because they stand out from a place of authenticity. They put themselves out there and they really started to step into who they are. And I would say every single one of us has that capability. On my show, we're always about empowerment and we are squashing the things that don't serve us, like fear, doubt, guilt, all that. We got to put that aside, but I can share that with you, but will you do it? That's up to you. But I know for a fact, because I've seen it over and over again, this is when things really change. This is when imposter syndrome kind of goes to the wayside because you're like, hey man, I love myself. I'm going to show up. I'm going to take that job because I worked hard. I deserve to be there. Cool. I'm here and I'm going to allow myself space to grow and learn and practice and do these great things. That is so awesome. I want that for you. But when we start looking at other people to evaluate where we are in this whole thing, then we might be putting ourselves in a situation where we're already less, we're behind. That's why these talks are so important, because even if you walk away with a couple of nuggets that you can work on, you can start pushing your comfort zone and saying, I am going to follow that spark. I say this all the time on my show. It is your birthright. You are meant to live a beautiful life, regardless of circumstances, regardless of how things have unfolded. You know why? Because you have the power to make choices in how you respond. And I want you to love yourself so deeply that when you step into new roles, that you can do it from a place of love and compassion for yourself and also some play. Have fun with it. Because honestly, do you want to be that person at the end of your life where you have regret, where you're sitting back and you're kind of like, oh God, I wish I would have wrote that song, or I wish I would have really tried to do the art show or whatever it is for you. When we understand that, it gets extremely powerful. So the point that I'm trying to make, guys, is that all of us have this capability of greatness in us in this moment. All of us do. We just have to start shifting the narrative. And instead of saying, I don't belong here, I want you to start saying, I am exactly where I need to be. Instead of saying, I'm not ready, I want you to say things like, I'm learning and I'm growing every day. Because when we use these kind of words, it's so exciting. You actually start to shift. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and behind the scene contents. And if you have any suggestions about future topics or guests, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, stay curious, keep learning, and never stop exploring the fascinating world around you. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.